Marvel Animation released the first trailer for their upcoming X-Men 97 series. On top of that, they also a number of interviews were released with outlets such as Empire Magazine and Entertainment Weekly, and they confirmed that this show is dead on arrival. Something that I knew already back in March when we had confirmation from the showrunner that the entire show is going to be about his experience as a black gay man. But before we get into this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. This is over at thatparkplace.com. Have you not bookmarked this yet? Why not? But we do have confirmation that the series from showrunner Bo DeMaio, embraced woke casting. We have an Entertainment Weekly interview with Nick Romano where he basically lists out who all the cast is. I'm not going to go over all of them right here. If you want to, I'll have the link to this article in the description below so you can see who all is in the cast. But this is the meat of this here. According to Romano, DeMaio confirmed the recastings were done for, quote, authentic representation. That is a code word for wokeness. This is what Romano wrote. There are many reasons behind the recastings. DeMaio explains that that range from more authentic representation. Court recognizes that voicing an Asian character like Jubilee as a Canadian actress in the 90s was a product of its time, to vocal intonations. Court obviously has bought into this wokeness or is just tacitly approving of it so she can continue to work for this show. It is not a product of its time. You should be casting the best person for the role. It doesn't matter what they look like, especially when you're dealing with voice casting, because voice actors can change their voices. They can manipulate their voices to sound like different people, and that's why you would want them to cast. This is very different from something like live action, where you want the actors to look like the characters that they are supposed to be portraying. Whereas when you're dealing with voice acting, you're usually dealing with animation. So the art style is what should be looking like the character. So like if your Bishop should look like Bishop, right? Wolverine should look like Wolverine, but it doesn't matter who is playing that character. An example is the God of War series. Blanking on the guy's name right now. I think his name is Judge. He was on Stargate. Totally blanking on his first name, but he plays Kratos. He doesn't look anything like Kratos, and he does a great job as Kratos. So obviously there is a distinction between voice acting and live action acting. But we have confirmation here that they decided to cast voice actors that are the same physical identity or ethnicity, etc., as the characters, and that is an utter, huge, massive red flag, and indicates that the entire show is going to be woke as well. Usually, when you have the woke casting, the story is infected with it, and it's utterly terrible. It's hard for me to think of an example that disproves that. That theory. Not only did we have DeMaio confirming the woke casting, but we also had this from Lenore Zahn, who returns to play her role of Rogue. She says she's first obviously talks about how Rogue's powers don't let her physically touch another person. And she says a lot of folks can relate to that, to her wanting to be loved, wanting to belong, wanting to be touched, and not being accepted for who they are. There's a lot of LGBTQ folks who tell me that they really can relate to her because of the same reasons. Rogue really embodies that because she always seems to be struggling with accepting herself for who she is, warts and all. And this lends me to believe that they are trying to promote the LGBTQ agenda. They're probably going to try and propagandize it in the show. Obviously, bringing it up right here in this comment seems to indicate that. And this is the Walt Disney Company. So, of course, they are going to do that. They literally want to groom children between the ages of kindergarten and third grade in sexual orientation and gender identity. That's why they opposed the bill in Florida trying to ban that, which it did ban it. But the Walt Disney Company opposed that. And then they made it very clear that they were going to try and work around laws like that through their content and programming. X-Men 97 appears to be one of the pieces of content that they are trying to do that with. And then, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, Bo DeMaio previously confirmed that the story was about his experience as a gay black man. This was back in March last year during an appearance on Marvel's X-Men 60 Uncanny Years live virtual event. This is what he said. He came up with a pitched it to Kevin Feige, and him and Brad Winterbaum, who is a Marvel Studios executive, could not have been more supportive and also just encouraging to make sure we got it right. I think one of my favorite parts was like they were truly interested in like what my experience as a black gay man was and how it was going to inform the story we were telling. And that to them was like, that is how we're going to make this authentic. So massive, massive red flag there, confirming that the show was going to be dead on arrival from the very get go. Would not be honoring the original series whatsoever. He might have made comments saying that, but when you're saying that it's about your experience as a gay black man, you're self inserting yourself. Sorry, it's just over. It's dead. So I definitely think this show is indeed dead on arrival. We also have some massive red flags here. Melanie Mack shared a screenshot from the trailer. You can see here there's a Daily Bugle, I guess, newspaper, and it says Inside Scoop Mutant Fashion Show. Obviously, the cringe Hellfire Gala stuff that they've been doing in the comics, they're going to be putting that stuff in the show. Just sounds like an absolute terrible disaster. Just dumb. And then we also had this from X-Men updates, and I can't confirm whether or not this quote actually exists. I could not find it. I did a whole Google search, put it in the quotes. There's 2 articles on Empire discussing X-Men 97. None of them feature this quote, but this is from X-Men updates. They posted this. It says, this is a lighter take on the character who is non-binary and has an interesting buddy relationship with Wolverine. They're talking about Morph. They go on to say the character's past with Mr. Sinister, the show's villain, could also come into play. Again, I could not find this. There were, like I said, there were 2 articles on Empire Magazine. One of them did not include it at all, and it was basically about the trailer. It was just published around 4 or 5 hours ago. And then the other one, I don't know when it was published, but it said it was published. It was updated 4 hours ago, so that would be after 7:45 a.m. Eastern time, which is the timestamp on this tweet. So it's unclear if they removed that quote from the article. I couldn't find an archive link when I went to search for that. So who knows if this is actually accurate or not, but if it is, massive red flag. And again, based on everything we're seeing already, would not be surprised if this is indeed true. And then this account too, though, is an activist account, so you have to call that into question. They try and dupe people, much like Discussing Film does, to try and just say that they're posting updates on film and television shows, but when push comes to shove, they expose themselves as the ridiculous, evil activists that they are. In this case, X-Men Update says, if Morph being non-binary makes you angry, you clearly don't know what X-Men stand for. Unfortunately, this person is clearly projecting and trying to shame people into buying into their ideology. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of people have indeed bought into this whole line of thinking that the X-Men have always been woke. Anyone who kind of says that clearly shows they've never actually read the first X-Men book. That has nothing to do with wokeness whatsoever. And they're just trying to take stories of oppression and applying that to wokeness. But X-Men are not in touch with buying into non-binary ridiculousness. It's just wouldn't be something that they would buy into, especially not characters like Nightcrawler, who is a devout Catholic in the show, and then Wolverine, who appeared to have a significant conversion after having deep discussions with Nightcrawler. There's even an iconic scene of him literally praying before the Holy Sacrament in a church, seeking God's help. So clearly this is not what the X-Men would stand for. This person is definitely an activist. But I think with all of this, it all adds up to this show is definitely dead on arrival. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys make of this in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, but to always speak the truth.